Konnichiwa, ladies and gents. What is happening? Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Stop Lounge, the podcast with about all things related to Formula One, what happens on the racetrack, at the paddock, or outside of it. This is episode number 7 now. As you can probably tell, guys, before we begin today's episode, today's going to be a solo one. Malcolm, unfortunately, won't be able to join us. But he will be returning for not next week's episode. Sorry about that. The following episode, which will be about the Chinese Grand Prix. Before we begin, as always, guys, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, make sure to give us a like, follow, and share on our Facebook and Instagram pages. For our Spotify listeners, hit that 5-star rating, and also, if you like, give us a comment on each episode, which are found in the episode description below. All right, let's get into it, guys. Suzuka, one of my favorite tracks in the calendar, one of the longest tracks in the calendar as well, and also taking place quite early on the season. This is a track that normally takes place during the latter stages of the F1 calendar, right around October. But for this year, it took place in April, quite early, and also quite understandable. I mean, the distance between Australia and Japan, it's there's quite a distance between those two countries, so it kind of makes sense that it takes place right now as well. The fans also, one of the reasons I'm looking for, why I'm excited for this race is because of the fans as well. We see all kinds of different fans in Suzuka, and they always go all out with their preparations, with their placards, with their signs, anything basically. And it's safe to say that the Japanese fans went out in full force for this race. I mean, there were so many creative displays from the fans, whether the hats that they're wearing, the signs, the costumes. It was, I mean, that's the Japanese people for you. I mean, that's why I love that country, and that's why I really, really am excited to see these type of fans for the sport. And you can probably see as well that there's a very, very dedicated fan base, a very dedicated Formula One fan base in Japan. So another reason why I always look forward to this race. Also, a track that has seen a lot of historical races taking place there, right? Also past rivalries, like Ayrton Senna and Nigel Mansell, Michael Schumacher's dominance in Japan, and so many others. So was very intrigued to see this race to arrive this quickly as well, and even coming out straight after Melbourne, another track that's one of my favorites in the calendar as well. And I think the question on everyone's minds during this weekend was a response from Red Bull, how they were going to react after their really underwhelming Grand Prix in Melbourne. And it's safe to say that they really responded in the best way possible. I mean, it was normal service resumed, guys. This is a track that Red Bull always excel at, especially Verstappen. He's won. I think he's pretty much won every single. He's won the race, I think, for the past couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a track that everyone expected Red Bull and Max to dominate, and that was pretty much how the gist went. I mean, it started from the first free practice, and it continued all the way to the race, which we will get into very later on in the episode. So, guys, as per usual, we start with practice, then we'll move our way to qualifying and the race, and then I will be handing out the usual awards: driver of the day, loser of the day. You know the drill. So, we're gonna start with free practice 1, and free practice 1. I think the same procedure happened. We're gonna go through this very quickly. Just get these results in front of me, because I really forgot. I kind of forgot a bit who got the fastest time and so forth. Now, as I said, guys, Red Bull showed their very quick pace from the first pre-practice, and it was evident. I mean, Verstappen and Perez filled out the first 2 spots, and Sainz followed them afterwards. Now, Mercedes had a really positive start to the weekend, setting up a fourth and fifth with the fourth and fifth fastest times in free practice one, and Hamilton even described the car as being the best he's ever felt this year. With the Mercedes car, but which we'll get into later on. That the positive news didn't lasted long. Didn't lasted very long. Anyways, also, what happened in the first free practice? I think the very first thing I saw, the very first thing I saw regarding the first free practice was Logan Sargent basically doing Logan Sargent things, going peak Logan Sargent, if I would say. He crashed his car in one of the chicanes, just like what happened with Alex Albon in Melbourne. Logan Sargent crashed his car, crashed his Williams car again. And the worst thing about it is that he crashed his car while using with the repaired chassis installed in the car. So with Williams hoping to get more upgrades with their car after their really slow start to the season, they've suffered yet another setback with another car crashing onto the wall, and that really resulted in Logan Sargent not taking part in the second free practice session. Quite reasonable to have a car seriously fucked with the damages. And Logan Sargent just he's just not having the best time in the sport right now currently. He's really unimpressing so far. And I mean, you can't just keep on crashing cars every single week, man. And basically that he missed out on taking part in the second round of qualifying. His teammate Albon just only managed to get the 12th fastest time. Now in free practice one, we saw a debutant, one of the young drivers taking part for the first time in the sport, and that was Ayumu Iwasa. If those don't know who he is, he is the test driver of Racing Bulls, and he is currently competing in the Super Formula Championship for Team Mugen. I think, apologies if I've butchered that name, but Ayumu Iwasa basically took part in the first free practice, replacing Danny Ricciardo, basically Danny Rick, which that doesn't bode too well for the Aussie driver. I think they're seeing that he's severely underperforming in that car, and they were like, let's just give a young driver a chance to shine, basically. And that's basically what happened. I mean, Ayumu only took part in the first round of free practice, setting on a 16th place, setting only at the 16th fastest time, which I mean, nothing too surprising about that. And basically that's the highlights of the first free practice. Now, in the second free practice, heavy rain showers took over the session, and basically just only 9 drivers managed to set a time. So I'm not going to really count that as a successful session or not, because the standings where Piastri got the fastest time, Hamilton second, Leclerc third, and obviously the 2 Racing Bulls following up. I mean, the likes of Sauber, one of the Hasses, the Red Bulls, the Aston Martins, and even the Mercedes. One of the Mercedes, they didn't even manage to set a time. Basically, I mean, the rain showers completely took over the session, and only a couple of drivers managed to set a time. And free practice 3, it was the Red Bulls once again who dominated, who set up the fastest time. So no big surprises there. So we now get to qualifying. With regards to the first round of qualifying, with the exception of one car, of one driver, not many surprises. I mean, pretty much the same caliber of drivers you expect to be knocked out knocked out straight away from qualifying. Basically they got knocked out. Zhou Guanyu again at the back of the grid with 20th. I mean, he just can't catch a break at the moment, Zhou Guanyu. I mean, just not impressing whatsoever. I mean, me and Malcolm said me and Malcolm have said in the previous episodes. I mean, this brother is not going to last very very long in the sport. I mean, I mean, he's basically continuing to set the slowest times with every qualifying session. Even when it comes to the races, not making an impression whatsoever. And I think his future in Formula One is not going to last very, very long if he continues at this rate. And I can't honestly, I can't really see him. I can't really see him getting much quicker times in the future qualifying sessions. So yeah, Zhou Guanyu with the slowest time at the back of the grid. Now Logan Sargent's car, thankfully they managed to fix his car in time for qualifying, but he only managed 19th. Again, just like Zhou Guanyu, I mean, I mean, he's still in that rookie phase, Logan Sargent. I mean, not good enough again. Just can't really. I mean, he can't really he's not out qualifying his teammate at the moment with Alex Albon, and he's basically still in that rookie phase. I mean, he's still struggling to find his feet in the sport. I mean, crashing his car in free practice and setting the slowest time one of the slowest. I mean, the second slowest time in qualifying. That just doesn't bode very very well. For the American driver, and let's hope he'll pick up the pace. The same with Zhou Guanyu as well. Kevin Magnussen only managing 18th. To be honest, expected him to maybe squeeze into Q2, but that Haas just didn't look at the race. Just wasn't at the races from evident from the first free practice. And it's kind of not that surprising that he's languishing in 18th. Pierre Gasly, a very disappointing 17th with his shitty Alpine. Let's be honest. Again, just a really just a significant fall of grace, Pierre Gasly. He's just having a really really difficult season. Hoping he can pick up the pace for the next couple of races, and I've said with Alpine that their changes and their changes in the car and up front. I said it that it's not going to be a quick fix for the French team. So let's see. Let's hopefully we'll see an upturn in form for Gasly and the Alpine team. Thankfully, his teammate Esteban Ocon managed to make it to Q2, but still, 17th place for Pierre Gasly, just not good enough for him. And the surprise driver who got knocked out at Q1 was Lance Stroll, 16th. He only managed before getting knocked out, he only managed to get the 15th fastest time. So he was playing it very very risky. He was very very risky with his time, and unfortunately he paid the price and got knocked out in 16th place. Getting to Q2. As I said before, Esteban Ocon managing to get out of from Q1, but he only managed to get the 15th fastest time with a 1:29.816. Again, pretty expected that Alpine to be in those positions because of the changes, because of the situation with the team. Not great for Gasly and also for Ocon for those two drivers. So only 15th for Ocon. Alex Albon, again, not much of a surprise in 14th with his Williams. That's pretty much it on Williams. I mean, for now with Albon, 14th, not great. Not having a great start to the season for Williams. So just a 14th. Valtteri Bottas in 13th with his Sauber. Now in Q1, Bottas actually got himself into the top 10, with being probably the biggest surprise of the biggest surprise of the entire of the first round of qualifying. A great time for a good lap for him, but in Q2 he couldn't repeat that feat in Q2. And he only managed to finish in 13th. Decent result for him for Bottas. Obviously, the last couple of tracks, he only was in that Q1 phase, didn't manage to get out of Q1. So the fact that he managed to make it into Q2, an improvement for Bottas and for Sauber as well. At least it's not. In qualifying, that Sauber wasn't at least the very, very worst car on the grid. So Bottas getting a 13th. Hulkenberg 12th. Again, with the Haas. Not bad for Hulkenberg. It's a shame that Magnussen didn't follow the Nico's footsteps. Basically, Nico once again making it into Q2 and not in those Q1 spots. So that would be great. That is good news for us. And just missing out on the top 10 was Danny Rick in 11th. Basically, his teammate he managed to set up a faster lap than Daniel, and basically Yuki knocked out his teammate from Q2, which leads us into Q3. Basically, it was a continuation of free practice. Red Bull filling out those first two spots. Verstappen pole position once again with a mega quick lap of a 128.197, and Sergio Perez following up in P2. Just a few seconds behind Max. Yeah, I mean, no surprises here. I expected Red Bull to be in those positions. Once again, I think Melbourne was just a blip for them, and we're going to get into the race very, very quickly when giving my thoughts on Red Bull. So a first and second for Red Bull, not surprising. Lando Norris getting third, a great result for him, setting up a faster time than the two Ferraris and the two Mercedes and the Aston Martin Fernando Alonso. So P3 again, wasn't expecting him to get into those Red Bull spots because that Red Bull is just a beast. So a third place is the best. I think it was the best result for Lando. So a great session for him. Carlos Sainz continuing his consistent pace in P4, following up by Fernando Alonso in 5th. A superb result, a superb time, a superb position for Fernando with that Aston Martin, a 5th place. Great result for Alonso. Followed up by Oscar Piastri in 6th. Again, expected him to be in those positions. Obviously wished that he was maybe in P4 or maybe a P5, but P6, nothing to argue about regarding Oscar Piastri. Hamilton in 7th, followed by Leclerc with a disappointing 8th for Ferrari. That was really the low point for Charles, because the race was a different story for him. George Russell in 9th, and Yuki Tsunoda, which I forgot to mention, this was his home race, making it into Q3 with and a 10th place finish. The best the most realistic and best time that he could have hoped for, basically, with P10, and the crowd were up on their feet, and rightly so. A 10th place for a driver like him, and to be driving a car like Racing Bulls, fantastic result for Yuki, P10. Mercedes, disappointing considering their pace in free practice. Basically slow off the blocks again with qualifying. That Mercedes car just can't handle the times that Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari are staying up basically. So and even Alonso's Aston Martin. So a bit disappointing for Mercedes to be in those positions. And even Leclerc, eighth place, expected far better than him, and even his teammate outperforming him massively. And how so? Eighth place is disappointing for Leclerc, but as I said a couple of moments ago, um, um, that was pretty much his lowest point because the race was a different story. All right, so again, that was qualifying. I mean, normal service. I mean, no surprises again. The drivers that you expected to be in the front row, basically, that's what happened. Red Bull fastest, and the McLaren, one of the McLarens following up, one of the Ferraris as well. Now we get into the race, and just like in Melbourne, another early wake up call for the European fans and also for me. For those residing in Malta, an early wake up call. It wasn't as early as Melbourne because Melbourne was like at 5 a.m. And I had to basically watch the race afterwards with the help of my Go Interactive TV. But with this race, it was at 7 a.m. Managed to see it live, so no problems there. And thankfully, now with Japan, there was it had a history of raining heavily, of raining heavily there, but that wasn't the case. It was a very sunny day in Suzuka, and basically we had pretty much no weather concerns to be talking about basically. And so far the season we've had clean starts, not much trouble ensuing in the first couple of turns, and it was like that before the third corner of the race, because during that corner, Alex Albon and Danny Ricciardo crashed into the barriers, and basically what everyone thought was going to be a safety car, it was actually a red flag. So the race lasted just seconds. You can probably can tell. So the race lasted just a couple of seconds, and after basically two turns, the race was red flag because of Albon's and Ricardo's crash. Who was in fault with those two drivers? Honestly, I think it was just a situation of the wrong place at the wrong time for both drivers. I think no one was in fault there. You could say Ricardo just squeezed Albon a bit in the corner, but to be honest, with all those cars just squeezing each other during those corners, you can't really tell who was really in fault in that situation. So for me, I think it was no one's fault regarding the crash. But considering with how with how both of the drivers' seasons are going, to crash both of their cars, very a huge setback for both drivers, especially. I mean, for both of them. I'm not going to really I'm not going to really give out any exceptions because for Albon, another Williams car crashing into the wall. We, I mean, in Melbourne, they crashed their car in practice. In the first free practice of this track, Sargent crashed his car, as I mentioned before, and in the race, another one of their cars crashed, being Alex Albon's car. So that is a huge blow for Williams, and what they hoped, what they hoped. They were hoping that the upgrades could come sooner. Now it's obviously going to be another setback for them because now they have to fix the car in time for China, and those are really significant damages with the parts of their car basically. And it's a huge blow for Williams. I mean, they really can't catch a break at the moment, and we're gonna pick our lose of the day in a second. As for Danny Rick, I mean, Helmut Marko, basically, there were rumors coming out that Helmut Marko basically gave an ultimatum to Ricardo, and he said basically if he was going to outperform once again in Suzuka, he was basically going to be replaced by probably Liam Lawson. I think with the favorite to replace Ricardo, basically. Um, so basically, to just crash his car after just a couple of corners, that is going to be even worse for Danny Rick. We'll see what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. But that is another blow for Danny Rick. And as we said before, as we said in the previous episodes, um, he's not going to get a seat next season. I mean, he still no points this season, and it's such a shame for Danny Rick. I mean, he what was once a very promising driver, even a future world champion. Some were saying as well. Um, and now he's basically in this state. He's basically in this state. So not great for Danny Rick. I feel a bit for him, to be honest. Yes, I gave him plenty of stick when he was driving with McLaren, but just not a great weekend. Just another disaster of a weekend for Danny Rick, and he can't catch a break at the moment. And we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with Ricardo's future. So basically, the race was red flagged for around 30 minutes to just get the tire barriers in place. And basically, the race was restarted after the tire barriers were fixed. Basically, after quite of a lengthy delay, the race was restarted. Same procedure. Verstappen and Perez getting the better out of everyone from the first couple of corners, and basically after that, as per usual, I mean, it was not much happened basically with regards to the race after that start. What basically happened, the two Alpines basically touched each other a bit on the first turn. Russell basically lost. Yuki Tsunoda got past Russell as he ran a bit wide, but afterwards he was able to regain his spot one lap later, basically. Verstappen, as we've seen last season and in the last couple of seasons and this season, basically pulling away from the rest of the pack just after a couple of laps, and basically not really much happened after that. I mean, it was pretty much how proceedings went. It was another procession, unfortunately. But and the focus was basically from third place onwards, the middle portion of the pack, from the top 10 and so forth. Norris was the first to pit from the front runners just on lap 12, and basically Oscar basically lapped one lap later. Basically, he went to the pits one lap later. And also followed him up afterwards. Now, basically, yeah, that the focus was in the middle portions of the grid. I mean, it was all up. I think basically it was all about teams getting the strategies right. Some teams managed, and others quite missed quite the mark. Now, Verstappen, yes, I mean, after making his stop, he rejoined after Leclerc, basically. So he lost that first space, but Leclerc had to obviously make a mandatory pit stop, and before making that pit stop, Verstappen just breezed past Leclerc. And basically, that was pretty much the race. I mean, normal service resumed for him and Red Bull, and after the small blimp that was Melbourne, Red Bull faced a lot of questions. Basically, I mean, faced by many, and many basically were questioning. How would they be responding from their setback? I mean, me and Malcolm, we kind of predicted that Red Bull were going to dominate the track once again, and that's basically what happened. Normal service resumed for the team. And Max, given his history of performing, of being relentlessly quick in the circuit, the proof showed once again in this race. Verstappen ended up winning the race, and besides that phase, besides that phase where he, after making his pit stop and getting rejoining the track after Leclerc, he dominated the entire race. I mean, untroubled once again, and he went on to win the race by 12 seconds, by 12.5 seconds. Outrageous performance from him once again. That he showing once again that he is the best of the business right now, and no one can basically catch up with his pace, with what he's saying up right now. And yeah, basically back to his best, and recovering from that small setback in such a short amount of time, basically straight away. Perez followed up. Red Bull basically were easily the best car on the grid by a landslide, because Perez ended up getting second. And Perez also had another strong week, and basically Perez was back to his peak, basically, because Melbourne, basically in Melbourne, only managing a really disappointing fifth, at fifth place. So to get second, that was back to his peak, basically. Basically, yeah. Perez getting up, finishing second, finishing up in second. Ferrari had had another strong weekend, with Carlos Sainz in third and Leclerc in fourth. A super result for both Ferraris. And now Leclerc and Sainz. Now Leclerc was ahead of Sainz, but they had to swap position. But they had to swap positions in one of the laps. So Sainz basically got the better out of his teammate and got a third place finish. And for Carlos Sainz, again continuing his consistent red hot streak this season. And listen, he right now he's still without a team, but he won't. I mean, if he continues at this pace, this won't be lasting long without a team. So I think Red Bull are looking at him. As we said before, many teams are looking at him at the moment. But I really hope that Sainz gets a seat, because he is a really talented driver, a really an underappreciated driver, in my opinion, with Carlos Sainz. And I really long may he continue with this streak, because he's having a super season for right now. Probably his best season right now. Yes, I know we're only, excuse me. Yes, I know we're obviously 4 races in. But it's a superb result for him once again. Another podium finish. And yes, although he didn't manage to win the race, to get third place, to get another podium. I mean, nothing to argue about for Carlos Sainz. Leclerc, from starting 8th to finishing 4th, now he was obviously awarded driver of the day, and understandably so. Now I'm obviously going to give my rankings very quick, very soon, who I'm going to pick. But Leclerc, finishing 4th, a really excellent performance for Leclerc. Recovered 4 positions to get into the top 5, and yes, although not obviously. Although he didn't finish where he wanted to be. Basically, a 4th place after his rather poor qualifying. If I'm being honest, a decent result for Leclerc. And Ferrari. I think Ferrari right now they look like the only team that can give Red Bull a bit of a challenge. They can give Red Bull a little bit of a challenge right now, but still, Red Bull looks mega quick than everyone else. So yeah, a 3rd and 4th for Ferrari, easily the best of the bunch, basically. Lando Norris 5th. Getting to my rankings, getting to my thoughts on McLaren very quickly, but Disappointing for Lando, considering he's starting in third, considering he started the race in third, to get only a fifth place. A bit underwhelmed, for Lando. Fernando Alonso in sixth, a great weekend for a great weekend. Yes, he only lost one, but he lost one position from his starting grid, but a sixth place for him and Aston Martin, a solid result for him. George Russell in seventh, managing to get past Oscar Piastri on the final lap, in seventh place in seventh place. Oscar Piastri following up in eighth. Hamilton, another poor performance from him, only managing ninth. And the hometown hero, that is Yuki Tsunoda, getting a 10th place finish. Yes, 1 point, but a super performance again for Yuki Tsunoda. Those who missed out on the top 10, the Haas, Nico Hülkenberg's Haas, in 11th. Lance Stroll, recovering from 16th, to finish 12th. Not bad, but to get outperformed once again by his teammate, not great for him. So only managing 12th. Magnussen 13th, with the Haas. Expected for them to be in those positions. So the fact that they are at least better than the likes of Sauber, Williams, and Alpine, it bodes well for Haas. I think that's where they want to be at the moment. Nothing more they could have asked for, but really. Bottas 14th, followed by the two Alpines in 15th and 16th, and Logan Sargent finishing up the grid in 17th. As I said before, Danny Ricciardo and Alex Albon crashing on the first lap, and Zhou Guanyu was forced to retire on the 12th lap after an engine failure with his Sauber. Basically, another poor race for Zhou Guanyu. Now, to get into my rankings for driver of the day. For our rankings, honestly, for driver of the day, you could easily go for Red Bull, but I do have a couple of picks here for driver of the day, for our winners of the day, more like as well. Obviously, Red Bull. I have to start with Red Bull. After their setback at Melbourne, this is the perfect way for the team to respond after their blip in Australia, and they basically dominated the entire weekend, from first practice to qualifying and leading up to the race. I mean, that Red Bull, once again, it's proving that it is a beast, the best of the bunch without any doubt. And for Max, he continues his godly streak in Suzuka, once again winning the race, and he's proving that he's big in Japan, and that's basically the title of this episode. Basically, he's big in Japan, dude. That car, he is just on a league of his own at the moment, with Max, and I find it hard to. I have a bit of a suspicion with what happened in the previous race, that I think he wanted to do that on purpose, maybe to get knocked out, to retire on purpose, but that's just my imagination, basically. So again, Max and even Sergio Perez as well. I have to mention, because as I said before with Checo, he had a poor weekend last time round in Melbourne. And to respond with a second place finish, that is peak Sergio Perez, in my opinion, with how he drove for the entire weekend. Normal service basically resumed for Red Bull. For Max, that was his third successive win at Suzuka. Back to Sergio Perez. Another strong performance for Checo. And hoping he'll have a race win, hoping he will be having a race win in this calendar. But I think the second place is the best he could have managed with Checo. So Red Bull have to be in that contention for our drivers of the day, for this race. Ferrari, I have to mention them again. For this may have been a McLaren fan. I have to, but again, Fuck it. I have to mention Ferrari because both drivers, both Sainz and Leclerc, had a strong weekend. Sainz again, third place, another podium for him. Continuing that red hot streak of being constantly on the podium with every single race, and Sainz at the moment. He's in the form of his life at the moment. The best he's ever been, and. He's really making I mean, if he really is going to end up at Red Bull in the future, and that's really what everyone hopes, what everyone is hoping for Science to end up at, hopefully. That's a great He's putting out a fantastic audition at the moment. So yeah, a third place for Carlos Sainz, strong weekend. Now for Leclerc, Leclerc falling up in four. Now Leclerc was given the driver of the day by the fans around the world, and to be honest, it was justified. I mean, to start from eighth and to finish in fourth. It's justified to give him the driver of the day. I mean, he's had a really strong. He's had a great performance, an excellent performance for Leclerc, and honestly, I'm a bit undecisive for if I should give him or Verstappen for driver of the day, but anyways, Leclerc had an excellent weekend. To start from eighth and to finish in fourth, and that eighth place just proved to be a blip for him for this weekend, and to finish in fourth, a strong weekend. He got. I mean, Ferrari got the strategies. I mean, Malcolm said in the previous episode that Ferrari are getting the strategies nailed on right now. They're getting the pit stop strategies nailed on with the tires and so forth, and I really. And another strong weekend for Ferrari. I mean, so far so good for the Maranello for the Maranello team right now. So yeah, another strong weekend for Ferrari. Another driver, we've mentioned him in the previous episodes, and he's continuing his excellent start to the season. Is Yuki Tsunoda? Yes, P10 1 point doesn't seem like anything to write home about, but I mean, to get into the points in your home race, the first to do it, the first Japanese driver to do it since Kamui Kobayashi back in 2012. It's such an amazing feeling for Yuki, and again showing with every single race he's outperforming his teammate once again, and he's. I mean, we're talking about Carlos Sainz in the form of his life right now. Yuki Tsunoda is exactly the same. Another brilliant performance for Yuki, and so good for him. A very an excellent weekend for Yuki. He got the race. He timed the race, and even how he started the race after the restart. He got his strategies nailed on. Pulling off a couple of great moves around the outside in the S's. I mean, he really is finding his feet. He really is finding his. He really has found his place now with his team, and a P10 into the points in his home race. A great thing for him to get into the points, and he has to be in that contention for driver of the day. And I'm really happy for Yuki after what seemed a difficult couple of years for Yuki. He's finally finding some joy now in the season, and long may it continue for him. I mean, everyone loves him. Everyone loves Yuki. I mean, even I mean, he's probably the funniest driver of the grid, and I'm so glad that he's not just bringing that in the sport this season. He's doing more than just that now, and he's finally showing some strong pace for this for this season. So at 10th place in his home race, the crowd were up on their feet, cheering Yuki on, and with some of the signs that with some of the placards that they prepared for him, and he really got the crowd on his back, Yuki. So fantastic weekend for him. And the last pick is Alonso. He described his weekend as one of his best, and he's absolutely right. I mean, to get a fifth place in qualifying and to finish just in the top in sixth in the race, completely justified. And he's basically right now he's carrying the team at the moment. I mean, Lance Stroll just not getting into the points, and for Alonso to get into that 10th place, to get into the points once again. A strong weekend, a strong weekend for Fernando, getting massive points, to get more points in the bag for him and his team. A great weekend for Fernando Alonso. But to pick my driver of the day, I'm probably gonna stick with Leclerc for driver of the day. I mean, you could go with Verstappen, since he's really back to his best. But I'm gonna have to give it to Leclerc. The fact that he started from eighth and to recover to get the strategy nailed on, and to finish 4 positions above in fourth place. I mean, it's justified to give him the driver of the day, for Leclerc, and deservedly so. Not not going to quite give it to Sainz, because yes, he got a podium, to get a podium, to get into the podium places, but I'm going to go with Leclerc. The fact that he started from 8th and finished in 4th, it caps off a great week and a deserved driver of the day. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky for me, because I'm a bit undecisive for losers, for who I'm going to pick for losers of the day. But to start, I'm gonna have to start with McLaren, my team for the losers of the day, because okay, we got a double points finish, and we may have outscored both Aston Martin and Mercedes, because those are really the drivers that we have to worry about. Also Ferrari as well, but Ferrari right now they look way more ahead than us at the moment, and understandably so. But considering where we started on the grid, disappointing race for us. With Lando only managing 5th, and Oscar Piastri only managing just 8th. Now for Lando, we basically did a Ferrari we basically did a Ferrari with the strategy, because because Ferrari got the strategy spot on. We fucked up our strategy quite big time, actually. We came to the pit stops and tires, basically, because Lando, I think we pitted Lando a bit too early, if I'm being honest, because that decision didn't pay off at the end. And what many drivers went for a one-stop strategy, and we actually had to do a few stops. And basically, Lando, what we hoped that he could have got a third place finish. The two Ferraris got the better out of him, got the better edge out of Lando, and he had to settle for only 5th place, considering where he started in P3. Disappointing for Lando. And for Oscar Piastri, he was in between 6th and 7th place for most of the race, but before, just in the final corner before starting his final lap, he made a huge error by locking up, by having a massive lock up with his tires, and Russell basically got the better out of him, and he edged past him. Now Oscar was obviously battling really hard to get to basically hold off Russell, but he unfortunately didn't manage to do that until the end, because at the final lap Russell got the better out of Oscar, and basically he finished ahead of him in 7th, and Oscar finishing in 8th. And yeah, disappointing for McLaren. I mean, listen, obviously not every team will have a consistently strong week, will have a strong weekend for every single race. But yeah, a 5th and an 8th place finish, despite getting more points in the bag, expected far more considering our pace for this season. So disappointing for them. They're not my pick for losers of the day, but um, they, we had a bit of an underwhelming race in my opinion, and let's hope that we can pick up we can see a surge in form, a return to our usual selves once again in Shanghai, China, basically. Um, Mercedes, once again, I have to mention them for our losers of the day. Um, and after, I mean, free practice, they show. We hope that that after free practice they could have continued their strong start to the weekend, but unfortunately it was a continuation of every single weekend. That Mercedes just looks incredibly slow off the blocks, and it just cannot match the pace of the first four teams right now, Mercedes, and they've had another underwhelming race. Yes, they scored just like McLaren a double, both drivers in the points, but at the lower end of the top 10, with only seventh with Russell and ninth with Hamilton. Right now, Russell is just breezing past Hamilton right now with regards to form, and Hamilton. I mean, something tells me Hamilton right now he's just focusing. His eyes are set on next season with Ferrari, and it's clear and it's evident to see. It's evident to see what is happening. It's evident to see what is happening with Hamilton. So only ninth. Disappointing for Mercedes, and after what hoped that they could have maybe see some sort of improvement with the team with the team, um, not great for Mercedes, and they have to be in that pick. They're not my pick, but a poor race for them once again. Um, Sauber and Alpine both out of the points. Once again. Expected, to be honest, considering how their seasons are going. Very poor. Alpine just couldn't really. I mean, the fact that both drivers touched each other in the restart, and not even giving a considerable challenge for the rest of the pack. Not surprising for them to finish up where they ended up in 15th and 16th. So poor race for Alpine, and the same goes to Sauber. I mean, for Zhou Guanyu, a retirement early on in the race in lap 12. As I said before, if he continues at this rate, Zhou Guanyu is not gonna get a seat next season. I mean, and the same with Valtteri Bottas. Yes, I mean, maybe considering his previous races that he had a bit of a better race, but both out of the points yet again. Poor race. However, my pick is, I mean, pretty justified with my pick. I mean, you could go with that with Danny Rick, to be replaced by Iwasa in the first free practice, and basically trying his best in qualifying to finish 11th, to finish in 11th, and then crashing very after just two corners. He has to be in that category for losers of the day. Not going to repeat myself again for Danny Rick. He needs to do far better. And Helmut Marko is not going to fuck around with the bushes, basically. If he with Danny Rick, if he continues at this rate. However, my pick, as it pains me for me to say, because I have a huge admiration and respect for the team. Williams are going to be my pick for losers of the day. To have their car crashed in boats in two sessions, in free practice one and in the race. That's going to be a significant setback for Williams if they really wanted to get their upgrades in time for their car, for the next couple of races, for the races to come, to see maybe a surge in form, to see an improvement in form. That is not going to go down well with the team at all. It's going to be a big setback for them. I mean, major repairs needed, and considering that they've had that they've crashed their repaired chassis, the chassis that they've crashed in Melbourne, and to crash it once again in here in Suzuka. Not great at all for Williams. I mean, they have to be in that category. And for James Vowles, a difficult start for him for his second season at the helm. And they need to really see an improvement. They need to really have to pick up the pace, Williams, for the next couple of races. And it's a shame. It's a shame because you have, listen, Alex Albon and even Logan Sargent. Yes, I mean Logan Sargent. Fair enough. He's having a really difficult um, uh, difficult spell in Formula One. But you've got two talented drivers there, and the fact that they're having these setbacks every single weekend, it's not helping the team at all. And the the team at the garage have to really they have a huge job in their hands now to really to get into anyways to get into those to see an improvement basically to see an improvement. My dick of the day has to go for George Russell in the first round of qualifying, basically, where he basically he had an unsafe release. Basically, his car had an unsafe release. Basically, he got just he basically nearly crashed into Oscar Piastri at the pits, and basically he was under investigation for because of that. Basically, it was a very unsafe release, and that was pretty much he's going to be my pick because there really wasn't any moments where there were where unsportsmanship behavior was being displayed on the grid. Um, he's so basically, yeah. George Russell is going to be my pick for Dick of the Day. My clown of the day, lastly, has to go to that Japanese fan before events proceeded. Basically, where he was wearing a Red Bull outfit, but then he just took off that Red Bull outfit. And what he revealed basically was an Aston Martin outfit and a hat, and he said Alonso, and he was it was completely unexpected and even very creative. As I said in the first few minutes of this episode, the Japanese fans are masters of creativity, and there were some there were some real standouts of the track basically with the fans, and he definitely has to be one of the big ones basically for being creative. So yeah, so basically, yeah, that is the end. That basically what everything that happened in Suzuka. Driver of the day is Charles Leclerc. Loser of the day is Williams. Dick of the day is George Russell, and the clown of the day is the Japanese Aston Martin fan. If we look at the standings, the two Red Bulls lock up the first two spots with Verstappen on 77 points, followed by Sergio Perez with 64 points. Leclerc in third with 59 points, followed by Carlos Sainz 4 points behind with 55 in fourth place. The two McLarens of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri in fifth and sixth with 37 points and 32 points respectively. George Russell in seventh and Alonso in eighth with both on 24 points. Hamilton in ninth with just 10 points, and Lance Stroll in ninth with 9 points, followed by Yuki Tsunoda with 7 points. Oliver Behrman with 6 points, probably the only points he's going to be getting this season, followed by the two Hasses of Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen with 3 points and 1 point respectively. The rest of the pack with the two Williams, the two Alpines, and the two Saubers, and the Racing Bull of Danny Ricciardo still without points this season. As we look at the constructor standings, Red Bull with 141 points at the top spot, followed by Ferrari with 120. McLaren in third with the funny number of 69 points in third. Mercedes in fourth with 34 points. Aston Martin just a point behind with 33 points. Racing Bulls in sixth with 7 points, and Haas in seventh with 4 points. Williams, Sauber, and Alpine still without points, finishing up the back of the grid. So, guys, that is the end of this episode. Had to do it solo, but we still managed to do the episode in due course, guys. Thanks so much for listening, and for having the time for us to give me my thoughts on every single race, and for the drive and for every driver as well. Our next episode is going to be in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully, Malcolm will be joining me for that episode, where we will be heading to Shanghai in China. Our first race since the COVID, our first the first return in that circuit since the pandemic. Obviously, that race has been suspended due to the pandemic, since China was the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic, and finally it's going to be making a comeback next for the next race. Really looking forward for that, guys. As always, if you have any thoughts on, let me know. Let us know your thoughts on each episode. We would love to hear your opinions. All of your opinions on every episode is much appreciated. And from that, I'll be signing out, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time for the Shanghai Grand Prix. And to that, it's goodbye, and hope you have a great day, week, or month ahead. See you guys. Take care.